I feel that like your book is so powerful because really, like, if we don't have love, what do we have?
Hmm. And it's so wonderful to be asked or volunteer to give away the love that has been so freely given to you,
Yes.
and that to not like hoard it. I'm an American, and we hoard things, and we have blessings upon blessings and blessings, and the battle cry is more, 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 and to be a part of that flow of having been just poured into by people that were pulling for you, there for you, praying for you, holding you, and to be able to just give it away to strangers, to however you can, and to whoever seems to really need it right then. And it just like is so unblocks this sort of calcification in our spiritual pipes, and it's like it pushes everything through the pipes, and you just feel this freedom of breath again. You feel like lifted, you
Mm,
feel buoyant, you feel sort of a buoyancy, and also a joy to remember that
mm,
this is who we are, this is who we were born to be, and this is what we were born for, and this is what we're made of, and to connect with that, as you say, possibly through a stranger who needs us, to reach out, whether we touch the back of their hands or not, and just to be there for them,
mm,
and just breathing quietly with them in the hopes that they can't that the love will restore them or heal them, or help them feel much, 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 much less alone in that
mm.
very isolating predicament of being sick or in despair.
And such a beautiful byproduct of love is that when you give it out, it comes straight back to you, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and that that is just so magical that you give it not to get it back. But when you do give it, it just flows straight back to you. You see, it changes lives. When you give
Hmm.
love out to people, you can see that they're altered, you
Hmm.
know, and
Definitely.
it helps people in some of, as you said, the darkest moments. I would love to know for you, how do you define grace?
Hmm. Well, I've always sort of jokingly described it as spiritual WD 40. Do you have WD 40 in
Yes.
Australia? And it comes with that long, thin red straw that you can put into the nozzle and spray into really hard to reach places. And I wrote a book on grace, a lot about grace, and a few books ago. And I described it as I've described with you today: water wings and a second wind. It's unmerited help. It's help that comes to you when you least expect it and lifts you up,
Mm,
and or sits shoulder to shoulder with you. Or for me, this WD-40 really works because when I need the most help, it's because I'm very clenched and clutched. I won't let go of what I need to let go of in order to catch what God is trying to send my way. And or I'm just all clenched up, and my muscles are clenched, and my heart is clenched, my heart being a muscle. And the grace just kind of jiggles it jiggles it lightly, and there's a loosening and there's a lightening, and that with that comes breath. And when I can breathe again, I'm halfway home. When I can
mm,
breathe again, I tend to get my sense of humor back, and boy, that's the miracle. I've always said that laughter is carbonated holiness. And when I can get my sense of humor back after going through a really stuck time, it really literally feels like a miracle. I'm not exaggerating.
mm. Laughter, I feel, is one of the most potent things ever. I mean, when we can sit there, even in some of our darkest moments, and laugh, it
Hmm.
it just absolutely lifts the spirit and the mood. And I think we kind of take that for granted. How laughter is something that we should seek more of.
Hmm. Definitely, you have to. It's somehow sort of mood altering, though, to feel really uptight and
Mm,
like in charge of a lot and take yourself very seriously, and it gives you a sort of sense of value, even though it is really toxic. But to laugh with somebody, to tell a friend a secret, and the friend almost always says, "Oh, me too. I've done that before," or "I felt that way just yesterday, and thanks for sharing that with me." And it just gives you that sense of intimacy and of
Mm.
safety and connectedness. And then we almost always end up laughing, and then
Yes.
it's just so wonderful.
It reminds me, my best friend, something will happen to either her or I, and I'll be like upset and go, oh my God, you can't believe what happened. She goes, Sarah, just give it a month. We'll be laughing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah,
It's another one to add to the collection. And,
yeah.
and I know she's right because there's so many occasions where at the time they seem like, what? And then we reflect on them and we're laughing. Do you remember when that
Yep.
happened? How ridiculous. And um, there is something so beautiful about laughter. I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
We know that a lot of the time when we have a dark night of the soul, I've had my own, that if we're very aware and we reflect on that and make changes in our life, then we're able to grow. And I wonder for you, when have you had dark night of the souls and how have they propelled you forward?
Oh, I just have had it my whole life. I just was a very anxious child and sensitive, and um, my parents, there was just so little consciousness in the 50s that children could have extreme anxiety disorders or OCD, which I had. And, um, and so I often felt that sense of hopelessness and of stuckness and just dread. Loneliness and dread is what the dark night of the soul feels like to me. And so, well, all of a sudden, as I described with my Catholic friend, I had the Hail Mary, and I always loved Mary. I mean, I ended up being a Protestant where Mary's not that big a deal, but I've always just loved Mary. She and I have a deal, and so I had some ways to get out, and then I had alcohol and drugs for 15 years, and those were really effective ways to deal with it. Although, of course, in the morning everything would be worse. But after I got sober, um, I just had a lot of tools. The main thing I think is always just to say it out loud to somebody that you're not okay. To pick up the 200-pound phone and to say, "Do you have a minute? I'm not okay." And if you only call really safe people, you're not going to call somebody who says, "Oh, for Pete's sake, that's ridiculous." You're going to call someone who says, "I really know what that feels like. Do you want me to come get you? Do you want me to come over? Do you want to come over for a cup of tea?" But just to be with another person, and it immediately changes the environment.